Happy Wednesday night. Welcome to A Look on the Plus Side. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate you. This is a show where we go deep into the Disneyplus catalog. We find a TV show or a movie to talk about. And we've adjusted our format a little bit also to allow for the things that come through Disneyplus through Hulu. So keep that in mind when you guys are sending your suggestions of things we should review. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. It's brand new. It's called Park Adventurers Club. We're not yet quite at a monetization level, but we'll tell you at the end how you can support the channel if you so choose. But in the meantime, please hang out with us. Talk to us in the chat if you're here with us live. We appreciate you. Give us a thumbs up as it helps people to find us. Again, we're thankful and grateful that you're here. Baseball season is upon us. It was opening day for March 27th, and I was like, every time I think baseball, I think of this lady. It's Stephanie. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. And honestly, I am honored to be on the first A Look on the Plus Side. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight.
We're going to struggle over that. I know we are. I know that's going to be a thing. So anyway, but thank you guys. We appreciate it. We're looking for uplifting, and that's a look on the plus side. It's an uplifting thought. So hopefully this is a good start too, because tonight we're going to be talking about Angels in the Outfield. And Stephanie, on some other show that we won't talk about right now, you and I talked about Rookie of the Year. We were looking for it last opening day, and we were like, let's try to talk about that one, and it wasn't available. When it finally came out, it kind of came out at the same time as this one hitting on Disneyplus. So I was very excited when this one dropped, because you're gonna hate me for this. I had never seen it. I had never seen it.
No way.
I hadn't. Now, keep in mind, I love a good baseball movie. I really do. My dad was a huge baseball fan. He took me to see The Natural and all these other classic movies. This one must have skipped his purview. My wife has seen it. She watched it with the kids. So, we sat and watched it together. But it is, again, it's a very uplifting story. I think there's an underlying theme here that we'll talk about as well. But this was in 1994. And as I go back and I look at this thing, I'm like, the star power they didn't even know they had at the time. Yes, it was crazy. Before we get into that, though, I want to ask you again to just kind of remind everybody, what is your passion about baseball? And then tell me a little bit about the first time you saw this movie.
Oh gosh. Well, my passion about baseball started at a very young age because my father was a pitcher and held some, records in Louisiana and everything, and very much loved baseball growing up. And I had two brothers, so we would go to, he was an Atlanta Braves fan, so we would go to the Braves games or the Rangers games, and just grew up playing sports, playing softball, playing baseball with my dad. So I think that that's where it all stemmed from. And of course, now I'm married to a guy that's a very big baseball fan, and I have a son, and he plays baseball, and hopefully we'll have some longevity with his career there too. So yeah, first time I saw the movie, I don't know, I was probably, late elementary, early middle school, I think.
I was about, do I want you to say that? I'm not sure I want you to say that. So this movie came out in 1994. It was July 10th, 1994. Again, I feel like, it's the summer sport, but why wouldn't you have come out during spring? I don't know. The budget on it was $24 million. Again, if you were to establish this cast in 2025, you would have to pay through the
You'd be
nose.
Paying Snow White money. That's what you'd be paying.
I think it's too soon. Nah, that's fine. We're good. We're good. So it grossed $50 million at the box office. And again, that's not a huge draw for the box office, but they doubled their money. That's not a bad day at the box office for that. But again, 1994, and it doesn't seem so long ago, but then also it kind of does seem so long ago, right?
Right.
Yeah. And again, one of the things as I'm digging down deep into this movie, on the plus side, is that there was an original Angels in the Outfield from back in the day, and this one
not that one.
Yeah, no, not that one. I was going through. So that one. This one is I think it was 1951. That's what I was looking for. Is 1951. 51, and it was a different story completely, really. It seems like it was about the manager specifically. This movie feels like it's about Roger and Knox, but it
Right.
was about the manager, and he was visited by Janet Leigh, who I believe was the angel, maybe. But again, it's from Turner Classic Movies, and I've not seen this one either. But it's really cool that they did a remake. But this one seems like it was perfectly made for the California Angels, and that one was the Pittsburgh Pirates. I
Yes. Yeah.
like I don't know why you do that. And for those of you that don't know, this was 1994. In 1996, the Disney company bought the California Angels and made them the Anaheim Angels. And
Yes.
very, very close to the time when they bought the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. And by the way, this has that same feel good vibe as the Mighty Ducks. So there were times when I got like all excited and like the Disney goosebumps and was going quack, quack. Like it
Oh,
was just like this thing
wrong
with
movie.
the, yeah, exactly. It's the wrong movie.
Well,
Um,
actually, whenever Disney owned them, they were the only time that they won the World Series. They in 2002, I believe, before they sold them.
Yes, correct. 2002, and then they sold them in 2003. But they still do some tie-ins with them. They're right there in Anaheim, down the street from Disneyland, so it makes sense that they would do that. But again, it's crazy to me. I wish they still owned sports teams. I don't know why. I guess I kind of
Right.
sort of secretly want Disney to own the world. So it's weird to me that like I was like, yeah, own a franchise of Disney quests across the country and own ESPN clubs everywhere and like yeah, I want that, but people didn't, so it didn't work. But anyway, so the basic gist of this story is that the Anaheim or the California Angels at this point are in a horrible spot. They're a ragtag group of misfits that are misdirectional. And how many times have we heard that story, especially in sports? It's the Mighty Ducks.
Good
It's
old,
the Bad
yes.
News Bears.
Hmm.
Like, what's your favorite in that scope? Is it this
It's
one that's your
Little Big
favorite?
League. Yeah, it's all of, no, it's really all of them, and it's the kind of the same story. You want to root for the underdog, right? You want
Yeah.
to say, okay, we can do it, and so and then you see the redemption story too at the end, how they all get better because of these angels that are helping them. But it's almost like they learn the fundamentals of baseball again, so they're able to do it, better and on their own towards the end of the movie.
Right, exactly. I put down Bad News Bears, Bull Durham, Major League. This one
Major
and,
League.
and Major League. This one and also Mighty Ducks is they're like when we join them, they are just about out of contention completely. It's
Hmm.
the worst season they've ever had, but suddenly this one thing turns around and then puts them on the right direction.
Can I add
And
Moneyball? That's
sure, yeah, there's a little bit. That's a little different, but yeah, I'll allow it. Um, Yeah. So again, the cast in this one. Let's talk about the cast before we get into the story. So the manager is George Knox, who is played by Danny Glover, and he's really getting too old for this crap.
good
I thought
one.
that was funny. Yeah, I thought that was funny. Um, and then Tony Danza, who is in the graphic for this movie, and
Yes.
I feel like I like when I look at this graphic, and again, this is our graphic, but when I see Danny Glover, Christopher Lloyd, and Tony Danza all sort of in the same picture there, it really doesn't feel like Tony Danza and Christopher Lloyd were in this one as much as Danny Glover. It feels like it should have been him real big, like Darth Vader style, and
Yes.
the other guys, down by the side.
Well, this
Uh,
was Danny Glover's kind of pet project because he wanted a film that his kids could see him in. His kids could not see him in any other films, his other work.
not taking the kids to see Lethal Weapon. Interesting.
No.
Um, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in this one
Yes.
and was great.
Hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and say that. I think he was great as a kid actor in this one because a lot of times the kid actors can be hit or miss. Sometimes you
Oh,
just don't buy it, and
he
Jake
did not
Lloyd.
overact. He definitely was perfect there. I mean, this is before Third Rock from the Sun too, so
Yeah.
this is pre that, and I really think that he did such a great job. And Tony Danza, he was probably pretty. I don't remember. I mean, I was kind of little, but and who's the boss? That was a big deal in the day, and so he probably was a big name for this movie too.
Yeah, probably. That's part of the $24 million, right? Was these guys.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, just seeing the cast in this one, and by the way, I'm just gonna say it. There's a lot of beefcake. There just is in this one. Tony Danza, I think, looked like he was kind of in the prime of his life here. The way he looks like he'd been working out. When I saw Matthew McConaughey in this one, I was like,
Yes.
was he ever that buff? Like, I'm just
Yeah, this is very early Matthew McConaughey. In fact, it may have been his first speaking role. I mean, don't hold me to that, but it was very, very early.
pre Dallas Buyers Club, right? Like,
Yes, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I was definitely like, I actually said this to my wife. We were watching it, and it's a bunch of different cut scenes as they're cutting through the locker room, and I'm like, oh, I know that guy, I know that guy. We saw the
Hmm.
names in the credits. I'm just like, I can't believe this. But when I saw Matthew McConaughey, I was like, whoa, 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 we need to rewind this. I was like, that's, that's Matthew McConaughey. What
Yes.
the heck? Like, seriously, like,
Yeah.
move over, Josh Tomorrow. This one. This guy. Um, Also, it's funny seeing Neil McDonough in this one because Neil McDonough
Yes.
in this one plays a goofball fool. Like, he's
Right?
like Charlie Chaplin, sort of vaudevillian, like over the top,
Hmm.
like shtick. Then here he is right next. We got to take another look at Matthew, but I mean, so here's Neil McDonough on this one, and
Gosh.
I'm looking at it and I'm going, that's totally not him. Everything I see him in, he's just almost
Hmm.
pure evil anymore. He's always the
Yes.
bad guy.
Hmm.
So yeah, I thought that one was kind of interesting. But anyway, those guys are in there. Taylor Negron, like he is the
Hmm.
'90s, right? Like he was
Yes.
this guy in everything. Although in
He
this
was
one,
so
he's
good.
the yeah, he's just like
The flunky.
he's the yeah, exactly, yeah, that guy. And Adrian Brody, like I was like, wait,
Adrian Brody.
they didn't like just discover him and give him an Oscar. He actually started somewhere. That's crazy. How
Well,
did that work?
his later work was not in the athletic kind of realm. So I
Hmm.
totally can see that because of this movie and how he runs home in that one scene. But that's okay because he, has a lot of heart and he delivers his lines just perfectly.
What about what about this like James Dean-ish kind of character that Dylan McDermott's playing here with
Oh
like
my
the
gosh.
renegade father with the the goatee and the
Don't want
smoking and
anything to do with this guy,
yeah.
seriously. I mean, he just, he's not my best friend's wedding yet.
Well, one of the things he does in this one, I'll ask you about that later. I'll ask you about that later because I want to talk, I want to get through the cast here because again, so Adrian Brody, Matthew McConaughey, Neil McDonough, Taylor Negron, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and then like there's again Tony Danza, Danny Glover, Christopher Lloyd. Didn't even get to Christopher Lloyd at this point. It's just like, well, wait a minute. There's just too many people in this movie. And then there's a whole bunch of people you're like, I know him from something, right? Like there's all those people that are in it as well. So,
The Pine Sol
uh,
lady.
yeah,
Did you catch her?
no.
Oh my gosh. Do
Who
you
are we
remember
talking about?
those commercials? The Pine Sol commercials in the, late 90s, early 2000s. That was her commercial. And she would come on and I'm just famous for that. And she was behind the kids in the stands when Roger first starts to see the angels. She's sitting right and she has one line, but she delivers it great without the Pine Sol.
I guess. Well, anyway, yeah. So, and by the way, there's a lot of smoking in this movie. I also noticed.
Yes.
Here's Tony Danza in a not an ice bath, but like in a hot tub sort of a
Whirlpool.
situation, smoking a
Mhm.
cigarette in there, and then the Dylan McDermott thing when he's sitting in. No, Dylan. I always forget that because of that SNL sketch. Which one is he? Dermot Mulroney.
Dermot.
Dermot
Dermot
Mulroney.
Mulroney.
Yeah. Did you ever see that sketch on SNL where it was Dylan McDermott or Dylan Dermot Mulroney? Like, tell us which one is which. So
Confusing.
funny. So funny. Anyway, Dermot Mulroney is in like the foster or the mom's
Foster home.
house, and he's smoking in there, and it's like, oh, okay. So this is a time when we used to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very strange. But yeah, it's stacked for cast. It really is. And I feel like everybody did a good job in it. I don't feel like there were any loose ends on the acting part. Milton Davis Jr., who played JP, he's a little kid, so I think I forgive that a little bit more. There was some kind of
Yeah.
pauses and things with him where I'm sure they were coaching him along. Cute as can be,
So sweet, though.
yeah, exactly. The one time the acting for Joseph Gordon-Levitt was interesting to me is when they did the social worker court thing, and that he's like hugs the Maggie, and then he's like trying to cry, and then they close up on him crying. So I almost feel like there was like a let's cut, let's
There's
get in
cut.
close, and let's do something about that. And they just probably told him something super sad.
And Maggie was played by Brenda Fricker, which I didn't even know her real name, but I looked it up. But I remember her from, I mean, yes, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, right? She's the pigeon lady. But from So I Married an Axe Murderer, and she is and in that movie she's pretty hilarious, but she is actually Irish. And I think how funny it is when English or other language speaking, native speaking actors play an American accent, because they do such a good job. And I think there were a couple of times where you could hear it come out. There were a couple of words there that she would say, and you could hear that little Irish drawl there. But yeah, it was so funny because she was totally playing it American the whole time.
Yeah, I actually didn't look her up, but I did hear it in her voice a little bit, that you could hear she was
Hmm.
hiding it, kind of like Gal Gadot in never mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, well, they wanted Angela Lansbury to play her part originally, but Angela
oh,
Lansbury was playing in well, Murder She Wrote. That was a big deal. And so she did not go, but that was because of Bedknobs and Broomsticks, because she held I mean, I guess you could consider it a foster home for the displaced children in the London bombings and everything. And so
hmm,
they were thinking that they would have her play that part.
gotcha. Okay. Well, so I, I mean that's good information. There are a lot of places in here where I feel like the effects are good.
Hmm.
The angel effects that they do in here, and again for a 1994 movie, I feel like there were a lot of places where the effects were decent. There's like Christopher Lloyd like stepping out from behind Tony Danza, or the thing with him being a bubble and popping, the ball
It's
jumping
cute.
around the field, which was really
Hmm.
dumb, but at the same time, it was playing the hippie hippie shake while they do that.
Hmm.
The effects I think overall were good, which surprised me after the opening of this thing, because like this scene with like the ball flying through the air, like you could
So
still
bad.
see the green screen around
Yes.
that ball,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
just like, and it's very Mary Poppins ish. The whole like there's something in the air. The baseball's like bouncing
Hmm.
around, and winds from the yeah.
The winds are
Anyway,
changing. Yeah.
the winds are changing. So
Well,
yeah,
I do
that
think I agree with you. I mean, there were some parts that you're kind of like, "Oh my goodness, this is just terrible." By today's standards, obviously, it all falls kind of short. But I do think, what was the part where I think it was Christopher Lloyd, that it was in the Coke cup and he came out and the Coke was kind of surrounding his figure there, and it reminded me of Terminator when they're
uh,
like melding down and forming into the going under the door and then forming again into the unit. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny.
yeah, no, I agree. It's always interesting to me too when I'm watching some of these things, wondering like when they filmed it, how they, how much cooperation did they have from Major League Baseball, because you see the players and you get the
Right.
actual, you get the actual like uniforms and the teams. They're playing the Yankees and they're playing it's like you see the actual thing, which is great. And then I think of a movie like Keanu Reeves and The Replacements, where like that football movie where it's like everybody was a made up name, and it's like you had to make up the names. I don't why
Yeah.
like why here. So I did appreciate the fact that that it felt like I was immersed in it. Maybe that's just because Disney has that kind of
Hmm.
pull. Maybe it was to welcome them into ownership of a Major League Baseball team not too far down the road from this. But
Right.
it was pretty neat to see all the way that worked.
Well, and the owner, I would just interject really quickly. He was played. I mean, obviously, he was a made up character, right? He wasn't actually the owner, but his character was based off of Gene Autry, who actually owned
the
the
Angels.
California Angels. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad was a huge Cowboy fan. So yeah, not
Yes.
Dallas Cowboys because we were in
Right.
Washington,
Cowboys. Yes.
but like Cowboys like the Wild West.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So anyway, um, so the cast was insane. The graphics and things went from cheesy to amazing. I mean, it was really kind of all over the place. The acting I thought was solid. From a story standpoint, I feel like that the writing was okay here too. Like there's sometimes where like the writing feels super weak. And in
Mhm.
this case, I don't think that was the case. We get exposition, which if it's done right, I'm okay with the kids
Right.
in the beginning, where we understand that Roger, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and JP are in the system, the foster care system, and so through them talking to each other about, do you think we'll get a home and all that kind of stuff, we're learning about their situation and where they are, and then we meet the dad. And he's like he exists, but he doesn't want the kid, and so he's there to tell him he's going to basically sign his rights away. And he has that moment, which is our defining moment of this movie, where he says, do you think we'll ever be a family again, Dad? And he says, when the Angels win the pennant. And you're like, oh well, I know where this movie's going. Like, even though we
Hmm.
already knew, like, it's like, yep, this is what's happening. um but when he's in that den with Roger, and he's got the cigarette, and he puts that out on his leg a little bit, you see a
Hmm.
little bit of fear in Roger's eyes. I don't know. Does that mean, like, was this an
Hmm.
abusive dad, do you think? Or am I
Ooh,
way off?
I don't know. That's a good question because he's still longing to be around him. He's not, but that maybe he's afraid of what he's going to say, or that he's going to leave again and never come back, or that kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean, you do go through the movie and you hear that Roger's mom has passed. So that is, that's his only family. And yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I didn't pick up on that.
But when he puts the thing out, like, he kind of looks around awkwardly when he puts the cigarette out, almost.
He
I don't know.
does.
Maybe I was jumping to
Hmm.
conclusions, but that kind of gets me into this part where, as there's a lot of it that's about the foster care system, and that's a
Yes.
pretty heavy topic to
Yes.
weave into a Bad News Bears movie.
Hmm.
And they're talking about these kids, and there's another one in this house, and Miguel, and he gets placed, and then
Hmm.
talking about how, like, now the kids are sad because they've lost someone while they're excited for him.
Hmm.
And it's a lot of that, and it's really, that makes us sort of very dramatic. Whereas the baseball flying around the field, and the weirdo
Hmm.
Angels in the Outfield logo in the sky, and the
Hmm.
goofballness of some of it make it feel like it's sort of a madcap comedy. There's a
Hmm.
deeper level to this movie.
Oh, for sure. And then when JP won't get in the car because of his history with his mother. I mean, and then they drive the bus so he can, be able to be brought home. I mean, that gets me every single time. It is so powerful. Just that little phrase. And you understand all the trauma and the, things that go along with that he will have to overcome, that he'll have to, uh, somehow work through to be able to move on with life. And you see the heavy weight that's on those little kids' shoulders because of what they've been through in the past. And I
Right.
do feel like, I mean, it's sad in parts, like you're saying, but at the end, of course, it's happy, and it's redeeming and it's wonderful, and they do get the family they've always desired.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it is very, that makes it very real.
Yes.
And that's running through there, and it pays off. I mean, it
Hmm.
pays off in the end. And again, there's a lot of times in a movie, especially something that's a Disney movie that's made for kids and family, where I'm like, oh, I'm so smart. I know where this is going. I can figure this out. Like, when he's drawn to Roger and JP, and he's getting
Hmm.
closer to them, you see that he's starting to care for them. And it's not like they just
Yes.
turn on a dime and say, you know what? I'm going to adopt you. You look like a good
Hmm.
accessory for my home. They actually
Right.
show that progression in
That
it as
growth.
they're going
Hmm.
through, and that growth. So it makes it make sense. And I love that about
Yes.
this. So there's that level. Then there's,
Hmm.
as we talked about, the level of this is a team that sucks and they need
Right.
something. They need something to get them going. And so he's a bad manager because he's very angry and he came here to
Hmm.
win, but he doesn't think that any of these guys have talent. And then the owner is like, that's it's kind of like one of these things where it's like if there are 26 of you and the one person says 25 of them are awful, maybe it's
Hmm.
you that's awful. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
maybe that's the problem. It's like, hey, let me just fire the entire New York Jets and we'll just hire new ones because it's definitely not the coaching staff. It's definitely every single player on there.
Rob, you and I are both parents, and I think it's like parenting, right? It's like when your kid is really down on themselves and they have low self-esteem, and you're yelling at them, "You can't do anything right. Why do you make a mess of my house?" All of this kind of thing. You're piling on. It's not helpful. What you have to do is you have to go and encourage them and figure out the underlying issue and address that, and then they get better. And it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's making that impassioned plea to the owner and just saying, "Hey, you gotta get rid of them. You gotta get rid of everybody, and they've all got to go." So again, if the the manager's like, all my employees are awful, they're all evil, they're all bad, they're all terrible. I'm great. Just get rid of them. We'll get 25 more, no problem. I mean, never mind contracts and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's
Right.
just kind of nuts. So anyway, so as he's doing this, he's angry. And then like you've got some people like the Tony Danza character who's a little bit washed up, and then you've got the other guys like the Neil McDonough's like the goofy punching himself in the face guy. There's animosity. There's no cohesion. And I
Hmm.
think that in all of these stories, it's about bringing them together, finding a common
Yes.
goal. In Major League, it was about showing it to the
Right.
manager woman
Yeah.
who was
The
in
owner.
charge, the owner. Yeah, showing it to her who's in charge. Ted Lasso, very similar situation. She
Yes.
hires him to fail. But you know
Hmm.
what I love about Ted Lasso? It's so uplifting. Like it was never
Yes.
a like we're
Positive.
gonna leave you in a bad place episode. It was always like takes
Hmm.
a left, but we bring you back to the center. Hope you had a good time. Grab some snacks on the way out. It's a really good show, and I'm glad it's coming back for a fourth season. I'm very excited about that. So that's the thing is that they're broken up. They need leadership. He doesn't want to be the leader. They need to be cohesive. And this kid comes along who makes a wish on a star, basically, that he wants the Angels to win the pennant so that he can have a family. And I love that they left it open so that he can have a family, right?
That's
So
right. Hmm.
perfect. Love it. Again, I'm like, I think I know where this is going. So it's not to get his dad back, who clearly has other plans and doesn't want him, but it's to have a family. And so he makes that wish. And here's what hit me, Stephanie, and you tell me again. You said we're parents. Is it a weird thing to have so many movies where kids wish upon a star to get something and it comes true? Is that
Hmm.
is that a slippery slope? Like we all need hope, we all
Hmm.
need
Hmm.
faith, we all need
Yes.
those things. But I think about like putting all of your eggs in that basket, and I think a movie that tells that story so well is
Mhm.
The Princess and the Frog, where they're like,
Right.
hey, you have a dream, but it takes work to get
Hmm.
to that dream.
But you
I
have to
like
get
that.
yes.
He
Hmm.
rolls over, he looks up at the very fake sky, and he makes this wish. And then here come the angels. And, I just saw this movie last weekend, and I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Like, let me just make a wish, and we'll get it done. I mean, it's just a thing that happens in movies, and I love that about Disney movies
Hmm.
and the uplifting. But do you think that's problematic, or am I just making a mountain
I,
out of a molehill?
I mean, it can be, but at the same time, I think in particular in this movie, he is praying. He says, "God, if you're out there," I mean, I don't think he has, much faith, but it does, if you have a little faith, maybe God shows up, And I think that that's really where it comes from because what is the saying? You make plans and God laughs, that kind of thing. Because he's trying to make a plan for himself. He wants his father to come back, but his father has his own free will and he has chosen not to do that. But God will work that out for him in the end, that he does get his own family. So I think it is a little different than the magic of it all, but there is that definitely that element to it.
So again, there's the foster thing. There's that, and there's a word that I use, and I think that you're leading into that is faith. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's called Angels in the
Sure.
Outfield, and obviously the first one was not about the California Angels. So, but in this one, there is a lot of faith, and there's this situation, and there's a moment where it just dawns on me that this is about faith. Is when Danny Glover does something that so many other movies do not do. He accepts that there's something bigger than himself in this one.
Yes,
There are TV
exactly.
shows, there are movies where, like, I think about dumb things like Monk, where it's like all the police were like, Monk, you are awful. You're terrible, Monk.
Yeah.
Solve 20 cases. You're the worst, Monk.
Right.
I hate you, Monk. Solve 20 more. You're the, you know what I'm saying? So, like, in this
Yes.
one, in most cases, they're like, they don't believe. They don't
Hmm.
believe. And something happens where he sees this kid and he looks into his eyes and he sees the kid looking and he goes, you really do see something, don't you, kid? And it's
Hmm.
early on and it
Exactly.
didn't take a lot. And I wonder, is it because he's lost so much and he doesn't have any place else to turn? Or is it just
Hmm.
because he's that strong of faith? You know what I'm
I
saying?
think I think that he started out very cynical. Like you said, he was angry, he was cursing, and Roger at one point says, "You need to tone down the language because the angels don't like it," you know? And so they all say, what was the line? Something to the effect of, "Some of these people won't be able to talk now," or something like that. So,
Yeah.
I think it's a softening. I think that's what happens sometimes when you see miraculous events and things like this that you can't explain, because they do happen. Absolutely, they do happen. And I think it's a softening of the heart is what's happening. And you see that transition and that change throughout the story.
To that point, the speech that Maggie gives is
Hmm.
so on point, and whoever
Right.
wrote that speech, again, Disney
Yep.
goosebumps all over. It's that
Get you in
Disney
the feels.
moment where it just gets you in the feels, and you're like, I'm not crying, I'm not.
Yes.
When she says, how is this any different than when
Hmm.
a guy drops to his knees and thanks God for that touchdown, or
Yep.
when someone prays for this to happen, or like
Hmm.
how is it that you believe in God but you don't believe in these angels? And it's
Yeah,
like,
it's the miracle on 34th Street moment, you know?
yes.
God, we believe in God printed right here. So yeah, absolutely. I think it really do a very nice job at wrapping everything up. The only thing I would say is at the very end when the angel Al tells Roger about the 6 month
Oh, oh,
prognosis that,
oh my
oh
gosh.
my gosh, like would you, I mean, I get that you have to play the final game here, but when you tell him, wouldn't you go to him and say you need a CT of of
Would
your
he believe him
chest?
though? Would he believe him though?
I
Because
think
he's
so. He's
maybe,
been seeing
maybe.
angels this whole time.
Yeah. I mean, again, at this point, when the evil radio guy, which
Mhm.
being in radio doesn't make me feel great,
Oh,
but the evil radio guy like goes up to the little kid and talks to him. Which, by the way,
mhm.
in 2025, who would let that happen? It talks
Right.
to this little kid and says, it's like, hey, you want some candy? Come back to my van. It's
Yeah.
just one of these things where it's like he tricks the kid and
Hmm.
into telling him everything, and he tells him this about the angels, and he's like, I gotcha, Knox, like I gotcha. I'm gonna, and somehow also in addition to working for the radio station, he also works for the newspaper because it's printed in there. I don't.
Right. I don't understand that, but here's something that I never caught. I mean, as a kid watching this, I never really paid attention very much to it, but it's foreshadowing this relationship between Knox and Wilder. When he says, when Knox is in Murphy's suite there and Murphy's getting on to him, can't punch my radio guy. And he's like, that's been coming because he ended my career. He slid cleats up into my knee and I was hitting my prime. And I was like, oh, well, obviously he's evil because nobody does that to try to take out the catcher. But I didn't know,
Did you?
I'd never seen that before.
So you didn't know there was a connection or a history between the two?
I, I guess I never paid attention. I just knew he
Yeah.
was the evil, but in all the other, like you're talking about Major League, Little Big League, Rookie of the Year, all these other baseball movies, they never really involve, I mean, they have an announcer, but you never really involve them into the storyline as this one did, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Uh, Two best announcers ever, probably Jason Bateman in Dodgeball.
Oh my gosh.
That's right, Cotton.
Yes.
And then also Bob Uecker, like those I mean,
Yes.
in the movies, like
Absolutely.
those are the two that
Hmm.
stand out really for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, this guy was evil. He actually reminded me of the stepdad. I had to look it up to make sure it wasn't the stepdad from
Hmm.
Rookie of the Year.
Right.
He
Yes.
looked
The
a lot like
sleazy.
him. I was like, wait a minute,
Yes.
did Stephanie and I just find a tie between these two movies besides baseball that is in
That would have
here?
been great.
Ugh, that's crazy. Yeah. Christopher Lloyd again is all over this thing,
Hmm.
posters, all that kind of thing, but he's such a small role in this. And I love that they reverse LA and they make it Al. Like he's like,
So
"Yep,
good.
I'm Al." And he's great in this. And this is post, like I feel like he's got that screw you Back to the Future money. And so like
Right.
I'm like, what are we doing here, buddy? What, like Doc Brown? Why are you out here shilling for the Angels? But he keeps working, so I guess that's
I think he's just a creative guy and he's silly. And, I guess it was before he started writing Frasier, or did that start in 94? I can't
I
remember.
don't think that's the same Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, it's not?
I don't think that's the same Christopher Lloyd. I know what you're talking about, but I don't think that's the same Christopher Lloyd. Sorry. Um, yeah.
Oh, that would
Anyway,
have been great.
I know it would have been quite a story. Yeah. But no, I don't think that is. But yeah. So no, I mean he's again. I think he's fantastic in this. But again, who knows? So he's doing this thing, the jumping around, and this was like again I was talking about some of the effects because this bully guy comes back because he's over here and he's like I don't know what's happening, and
Pine
then
Sol Lady in red.
he comes and he sits down here and he's like whoa see again
That
great
was
effect
good.
for 1994 yeah. uh Pine Sol Lady again. I look at that and I go they had a different guy working on that effect than they did the baseball in the opening scene,
Right.
so that
Yeah,
definitely
they paid more money for it for sure.
yeah. But again, I'm watching like Joseph Gordon-Levitt just did such a great job with this one. So, um, I'm staring at the screen to see if I can see Pine Sol Lady again, but I don't see her. Anyway, um, so you know, again, you've got a lot of different stories going on here, and I think that they balance it all really well. And I don't know who to credit for that. William Deere, who directed this, didn't do a ton of other stuff. I mean, he directed like an episode of Dinosaurs and like two episodes of SNL, and I'm looking through because some of the directors that do things for Disney, like Joe Johnson, like they do a ton of different things. Once Disney's got uh, their their guy, they kind of stick with them. So it was interesting to me that this was kind of like his big deal, I guess, of all the things that he did. Um, but again, I think that directing wise, it was fine. No specific notes on directing, but I thought again, actors, the messaging, the writing, all of it seemed pretty strong. I want to take this like time out here to say thank you guys again so much for watching our new show, A Look on the Plus Side. Hopefully, you guys will join us every Wednesday night. I'll give you the lineup at the end. But right now, Rosita specifically asked me. Rosita's out there. We love Rosita. Rosita specifically asked me to not forget to do trivia because that's something we did
Oh,
on our other show.
sure.
And
Okay, Rosita, you got to help
usually,
me.
usually you kill at trivia.
No, I
So
don't. I'm
you
I'm
do
like,
great. You do
0
great.
for 3.
Yeah. No, you do great. You're good. Um, you live for the applause. The applause. Anyway, so let me ask you a couple questions here. I don't think they're going to be too tough, but hopefully you guys will play along at home.
You never know.
So here we go. The
Okay.
first question: in the very first game where we see the Angels playing, what team are they playing? Because they also play them in the second game we see.
Okay. I know the one where Adrian Brody hits the ball and it bounces around. That's the Oakland A's because I remember it landing on the hat. Who were they playing in the first game?
again, I love the
Oh no.
fact that they actually do the real thing, like that they use the real
Hmm.
teams. I think that's great. As opposed to like the Mighty Ducks. I don't know if they were using the real like Division 1A
Players.
or
Yeah.
whatever hockey. No, it was children's hockey. It was fun.
Yeah.
Um, I was messing with you. It's the Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, the Blue Jays. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Uh, so
All right.
Rosita said
One strike.
Pirates.
Okay. Could have
So
been.
I don't know that you would know this, but I'm going to ask you anyway because again, I have a radio life, and so I see call
Yes, you
letters,
do.
and I think I is that a real station? It's not a real station. Um,
Yes.
but what are the call letters of the radio station? Probably don't
I
know
knew you
that,
were
do
going
you?
to ask me that.
Did you?
KLMX 690 AM.
You knew I was going to ask you that?
Yes.
Very
I mean, I
close.
assumed. I assumed. Close.
Very close. KLMV.
KLMV. Oh, oh wait, I did write a V. Just kidding. I can't read my
But
own
you wrote it
handwriting.
down. But you wrote it down. By the way,
Yes.
I hate how predictable I am. So I guess I
Well, it's
screwed up
only.
on that one.
I got one. I got one.
Yeah. No, I mean that was pretty freaking close. There are a lot
Shoot.
of numbered jerseys, but the one we see the most is manager Knox. What is his number? What number is Knox?
52.
Just nailing it. Just nailing it. 52.
And I
Did you
didn't
write it
write that
down?
one down. No, that was from memory.
Seriously? Wow.
Yes.
That's on point. That is so
Seriously.
wow. That's God. You took notes. That is so fun.
I
I love
did.
that. I love that you're doing that. Just out of curiosity, I wasn't going to do more than one number, but do you remember what Tony Danza's number was?
Oh, no.
5.
Oh, okay.
But
I was
again,
gonna say
that's
single digits, but I didn't remember.
that's not an official. That's not an official question.
Okay.
Only one character in this movie makes the titular line, says the name of the movie in the movie. Who's the character that says the name of the movie in the movie?
Angels in the outfield and in the well, I mean, Roger says there are angels in the outfield and in the infield. Does that
That is
count?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
He says, there are angels in the outfield. And then he
Hmm.
pauses and he says, and in the infield.
Right.
But yes, he's the only character that says that. There was a TV show that Amy Poehler was on back in the day called the Upright Citizens Brigade, and on that show they did a bit about the titular line. And the one guy was like, "I had the titular line in Out of Africa, and I had the titular line in Star Wars, I had the titular line in movies that didn't have one." And my wife was like, "You're
Right.
making that word up," and I'm like, "No, it's seriously a thing." And so he like is having this argument with the guy in the video store, and he cuts himself into a movie going, "Meryl Streep, we've got to get out of Africa." And I just
Oh
like
no.
it's so
That's great.
it's so stuck with me, the titular line. So yep.
So good.
The next question, you mentioned this already. You mentioned
Uh-oh.
the fact that maybe not, but Knox came to us from Cincinnati. How many years
Yes.
did he have in Cincinnati?
Okay. It showed it on this plaque and it's so random. I'm like, I need to write, and I didn't write it down. Okay. If I can remember, it was like 68 to 1980? Is that what it said on the plaque?
It was 10 years.
10 years. Okay. So
Yeah, it was 10 years.
70 to 80 in there. Okay.
Yeah, because he mentions it when he's talking to the to
the owner.
to the ranch. Is that the radio guy's name?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When
The
he's talking to
announcer.
him. All right. So the last question I have for you, and this
Gosh.
one is because I have OCD when it comes to these type of things, and I just
Oh,
can't
no.
not notice them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There were at least 12 brands. Because again, I think about
Oh.
1994, and I think about like, are there
Mhm.
brands that don't exist anymore? There were 12 brands between signage and product placement and all of that stuff.
Okay.
all over. I mean, because it's a baseball stadium, and you
Yes.
sell signage in a baseball stadium.
Everywhere.
Everything's sponsored. It's like the whole thing.
Mhm.
There are 12 brands that I saw. There are probably more, but there are 12 brands mentioned or shown. Just give me 3 brands that were shown in that movie.
Okay. Michelin, Safeway, um, Coca-Cola, and
Did you write it
what
down?
was in it? I wrote some down. Jack in the Box.
So good. Oh my God, that is so good. Yes, that is correct. Hopefully, you guys are playing around along. I love that. But yes, so there was a PSA thing for Crash Test Dummies, which
Crash
always
Test
stood out to me
Dummies.
because of a because of the band, the Crash Test Dummies, and B obviously because of our love of Test Track and the Crash Test
Mhm.
overlay they had on that one. But there was that billboard. But Jack in the Box, Chevron, Safeway again, because my dad was in the grocery business. I always like go back to things like that stand out because I would like they had Safeway in California.
Mhm.
Jiffy Lube, Avis, Coca Cola. There was a Coke machine in the background of one of the scenes that's in the locker room, and it's one where they can hit the taps and get whatever they want to.
Mhm.
And I'm like pausing it, looking at like there's a high
Oh
C,
my
a
gosh.
Barks root beer, and I'm just like, this is nuts to me. Seeing like a Barks root beer on tap with the old
Mhm.
logo, that was kind of cool. The Pontiac Firebird was actually shown as
Oh
the
my
Pontiac
gosh.
Firebird. Like talk about 1994 in a time
Right.
capsule. The Sports Channel, back when there was like a brand called the Sports Channel for cable.
Mhm.
Starter, which is always been involved with sports and sporting equipment. Bud Light, and in when he played the Sandlot with all those little kids, Oscar Mayer.
Oh, that's right. Oscar
Just
Mayer. I
randomly,
was like,
yeah, just
Where's the Wienermobile?" But
yeah.
also, you could probably say Franklin because they had a lot of their batting gloves were Franklin brand.
Mm. I was trying to read what kind of baseballs they were using, but the only time they showed close up of the baseballs was the goofy thing in the sky, and
Mhm.
when he knocks horse hide, and then knocks the
Off of it.
hide off of it,
Mhm.
and as they show it, I'm like, oh, there we're gonna see it, and then it's like, oh, it's broken
Nope.
open. Okay, we're not gonna see it.
Mhm.
Ah. So lots of baseball puns in the chat for you. Stephanie with the
Nice.
grand slam. Steph totally knocked it out of the park tonight. Jay Ware Barks is my favorite root beer. That's not related
Nice.
in any way, shape, or form, but there it goes.
Mine
So,
too.
yeah, so I appreciate you playing that with me.
Oh,
That's always a lot of fun. Thank you guys, and thanks Rosita for making sure to keep us honest that we're still doing that. We're still doing the
that's
trivia
right.
part. It's a lot of fun for me. It's not always fun for them. Um,
Right.
Music was not a big. Getting back to this thing we're talking about, music was not a big part of this, but like the hippie shake played while the
Mhm.
ball was dancing around the field, and then they did "It's All Right," which is the original, not the Huey Lewis version, I believe.
Mhm.
And then there's a little bit of music, but I felt if there was something lacking in this, it was score. I don't think there was
Oh.
enough score. There were a lot
Mhm.
of moments that felt hollow because they
Mhm.
did not have score. You
I did,
disagree?
I well, I mean, I usually would say yes, but I don't know for this particular one. I feel like it flowed well, and it kept my attention, and it didn't feel like it was um, dead air, so to speak. There was something that needed to be filled in. So I don't know. I think they did a pretty good job with it this time.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so we haven't been kind of going like shot for shot through this thing, which I don't think we need to. If you have not ever seen it before and you're watching this, then hopefully you'll be inspired to go watch it, and you haven't had too many spoilers, but we will spoil the end for sure. But I was gonna say it's really again, it's a roller coaster. There's not a lot of like straight up like madcap comedy. That thing with the baseball jumping around was so weird, but it's not really about that. It has so much heart that when
Yes.
like Maggie makes her speech was the beginning of several moments for me that were
Mhm.
like kind of like I'm feeling verklempt, talk amongst
Yes.
yourselves. Is one of those kind of
Right.
things like you were saying, you get all the feels, and that's what I love
Mhm.
about Disney in general is
Mhm.
those moments that they do. And there's something about Disney. I don't know if it's the choices they make in stories, or if it's the way they tell, or if it's just this, like, the 11 herbs and spices, what it is about it that always has this thing in it that feels like they know where to punch. I remember the first time I rode Space Mountain in Paris, and it was the first time I'd ever been in a roller coaster that had the speakers in your head, like in your
Oh.
car, as opposed to like
Mm-hmm.
hearing it around you. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
pulling into the station at the end and hearing the music in the headset go bum 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 bum, and I will never forget that, because it's like we're bringing you to the dun da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end of the
Mm-hmm.
movie. Like, it was
The
brilliantly
conclusion.
done, and so there were some musical spikes underneath some of those moments, but
Mm-hmm.
you had the speech with Maggie, which I thought was magnificent. Then you have the moment with Tony Danza's character, where he's on the pitching mound and he's trying to get that game. And there's a whole bunch of ways this could have gone. And I think back in the day, it was a little bit more predictable how things would happen. They're gonna win this
Mm-hmm.
somehow. But I love that they pull back and that Christopher Lloyd shows up as Al, and they're like, "Oh, are you gonna help tonight?" He's like, "No, it's a championship. It has to play out the way it plays out." And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, that's great. Like, we're not rigging this. This is real. Like, this is going to be a real heart to get it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that moment adds something to me. I don't know if that came up for you or not.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then of course when they're the only thing I would say is whenever they were, do we pull him or do we not? Because George is looking around and he's going, he doesn't have anything else left in him. And they made a comment that said it was a ranch. He said he's got to be tired. He's thrown 156 pitches, and I'm like, what? That seems like an awful lot to be, I don't know, tied at this point or something, down by one, something like that. And I looked it up and the average is 86. So I'm not sure why they chose that number in particular, because yeah, he would have been walking a lot of guys if he was throwing that many pitches in that one game. But yeah, he goes out onto the mound and he says, they make that decision, he and Roger do, because it's weird. It's weird that he lets the kid make the decision to me, because he's the manager. There's no angels. He already knows that. And he says, we're going to lie to him. We're going to get out there. We're going to lie. But you want to help him believe. And Roger stands up and starts doing the arms. And then the whole stadium stands up and does the arms. And that is the moment. That is the, like, climactic, got you in the feels, like all of that and encapsulated. And so yeah, you want him to stay in, you want him to get this guy out and win. So it's bad baseball, like Ranch said. It's bad baseball to leave him in there, but it's good movie. It makes for good cinema. So that's what you want. You want the fans behind you. Sometimes a pitcher just needs a little oomph from the crowd.
Quack, quack,
Yes.
quack.
Exactly.
The best moment,
Exactly.
though, is this one right here.
I love it. David was great.
Taylor Negron, after being just like completely fed up with these kids and everything, and then of course the owner in the box going, "You want to stay in my box? You better do this." And of course,
Right.
Ranch has nothing to do with it. But yeah, it's really well done. I agree. There was a moment where I was like, did we just miss some consistency here in the fact that Danny Glover's character is like, I can't curse, I can't tell a
Hmm.
lie, I can't do any of these things that'll make the angels mad. And then he
Hmm.
comes around and he says this to him and he lies to him. So,
Right.
like, is there a lesson here that says it's okay to lie if it's going to be for his own good? And he doesn't even know the story. Only
Hmm.
this little kid, Roger, is saddled with the knowledge that this man is going to die in 6 months.
Yes.
And again, that's another heavy piece that surprised me about this movie, because it was, I don't know if this was around the time when smoking was such a problem and they were trying to send a message,
Hmm.
but there's all this smoking in the movie, and I'm like, this is surprising to see. And then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, that guy, he smoked a lot, he's gonna die.
Right. Exactly.
Welcome to the Saturday matinee of Angels in the Outfield. I mean, bring the
What was
kids.
that old, like, 90s PSA, no, PSA. Yeah, public service announcement that would go, this is your brain. This is your brain
This
on
your brain on
drugs. Any
drugs. Any
question?
questions? Yeah,
That's basically it. You're going to smoke. You're going to smoke a lot. You're going to die.
yeah.
Any
Yeah.
questions?
But that anticipation that they build is so nerve-wracking, and I really
Yes.
got drawn into it with the,
Yes.
with that moment of Danny Glover's he's got to take him out, or he's
Mhm.
got to have this moment or whatever,
Mhm.
and because he's a change man, because he knows how important it is to be that good leader to his team, he's
Mhm.
making the hard choice, and he's choosing his player over the win, but he wants both and thinks he can get it, and so he does
Mhm.
exactly that. And that again, I said the directing didn't really, wasn't like a big deal. It kind of is in this scene. Like, not only the panning across with the thing, but like the
Mhm.
slow mo with him making the pitch,
Right.
and then
Mhm.
and then like getting the hit.
Everyone's waited with bated breath. They're all, what is happening here? Look at their faces, and this is
Yeah,
all a
and
split
then
second.
and again, look, that close up too. I mean, that it was really
Mhm.
well directed. I don't know if that's the editing or who did that, but
Mhm.
yeah, and it's a great way to end it, because it's not the same old same old. It's not the typical, we didn't bring the Angels in to win this game for them. We didn't
Right.
we didn't pull him out and then still win, or we didn't lose the game, but it was a really interesting twist to it that I didn't see that coming. When he connects with the ball, I swear I thought it was going to be a strike, and he connects with it, but he then catches his own mistake and wins the
Yes.
game, and then dies 6 months later.
Yes.
There
Oh,
should
it's
there
so
should have been like
sad.
a post
That's
credit
so sad.
scene at his
At his
like
funeral.
graveside.
Oh my gosh.
Too
No,
soon?
end on a high note, Rob. Yeah, end on a high
Too.
note.
Yeah. And so again, I think that the like those moments are, are incredibly strong. The Maggie moment, the
Mhm.
lead up here, this moment, and then the moment
Mhm.
when he's like, I'm going to adopt you, and I'm going to adopt JP, and you're just like,
So sweet. I
what a
know.
sweet movie. And
Of
it
course
didn't
we
go
can't
like
leave him.
10 years later, and it didn't go next season. It didn't do any of that. It ended right where it needed to end.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm here for it. I thought that was really well done. I think Danny Glover did a good job in here. Hearing that it was something that he wanted to do for his kids. This is a great movie to take his kids
Yes.
to, as long as they're okay with like asking the question about why that player is going to die in 6 months. Other than that, again, the
Right.
rest of it, yeah, is so good. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It was good. It felt like it wasn't a typical baseball movie,
Right.
because they focused so much on those other things, focused on the faith,
Mhm.
focused on the foster system, focused on the relationships, focused on,
Yes.
all of that stuff, that it was almost like the baseball was the background and not the most important thing, to the point where if they hadn't won, I'd have been okay.
Mhm. Yeah. He was still adopted him.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I think you took the words right out of my mouth, honestly, because that was what I got from it too. As a child, you're looking at the baseball and you're thinking how fun this is, and oh, the Angels are funny, and look at what they, have the players do. But because as watching this back as an adult, I'm seeing, yes, that it takes a back seat to the family and to, the, like you said, the messages of faith and of love. I mean, that's what Maggie says. She says, the footsteps of angels is love, and where there's love, then miraculous things happen. And absolutely, that is what the message is throughout the movie, throughout the film. And it really does. Baseball plays a secondary role. But I agree. I love that they took something from the 1950s that wasn't even really about, well, it wasn't about the California Angels anyway, but it was based off of the reporter. The reporter was the centralized character, and they completely changed it into this new story. So I don't even know if I would say it's a remake. It's a
The new
homage
story.
to, I
Okay.
guess. Yeah.
So before we do final thoughts, a couple other things I wanted to point out. One is I'm surprised that we haven't gone back to this IP for Disneyplus.
Good point.
Could have been a
Hmm.
series, could have been a thing. We do know again that they actually went back and like I showed earlier, they made another movie in
Right.
1997 starring Christopher Lloyd and
Christopher
Matthew
Lloyd.
Lawrence, and it's the Angels in the End Zone. and it was 1997 that this movie came out. I think it was on The Wonderful World of Disney. It was not a theater movie. It was 90 minutes long, perfect for TV. It was a high school team, so again, didn't have to go through all that mess with trying to figure out logos and emblems and things like that. Again, the cast of that one was okay too, but funny enough, it's not on Disneyplus. A lot of those movies, the remake of Freaky Friday that was on Wonderful World of Disney, the remake of The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes with Kirk Cameron is not on there. There's a lot of things that aren't on there that I feel like they should have dumped the entire hard drive.
Yes.
Everything should have been on there unless it had a previously existing contract. And here we are almost 6 years after the launch. There better not be any other pre-existing contracts. But,
Right.
I know that there are movies you and I have tried to review before that weren't on here yet, and they come and they go sometimes. I know that there's a lot of original content that they made that has gone away.
Right.
So one day we'll do a show just about like what we wish was on Disney Plus. But like I said, we have a lot of stuff to talk about still. So before we get to final thoughts, again, I want to thank everybody for finding us. We have a new channel that we're on. It is called the Park Adventurers Club. So again, at this point, this was my channel, but now I keep saying this. It was a me channel, but now it's a we channel. There'll be a lot of people that you've seen from other places, that are our other shows that will be here, and we appreciate you guys. I mentioned at the beginning we don't really have we're not really quite monetized yet, so we need if you know some people, we need to get a few more subscribers and some more watch hours. So go back to this channel. It's parkadventuresclub.com, or if you go to lookontheplus.com, either of those will bring you to our site, to our YouTube page, and you can watch other videos that are on there. Some ride-through videos. There's a video that I did at Epic, and there's some other things on there that you can watch, including a live stream I did last night about popcorn buckets, and we've got more stuff coming. So we hope you guys will support us. But there is one other way to support us. You can go to patreon.com/GoPack. See, it's funny because
Nice.
Park Adventurers Club, PAC. I want to thank Jordan and Jungle Cruiser and Real Life Evie and William K for being our adventure levels and supporting us and supporting our content and this channel, because we do it because we love it and we love talking about Disney. And my wife will go crazy if she has to hear me talk about it to her all the time and not to you guys. So, guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. We appreciate you. Coming up next Wednesday, so we're going to be doing more live shows. This Wednesday was Angels in the Outfield. Next Wednesday, my friend Maleko, all the way from Hawaii, is going to be talking about Moana 2.
Yes.
He has talked about other things. I know he talked about Mary Poppins, and it still bothers Stephanie a little bit. But anyway, so Moana 2, he's agreed to come on, talk about that. And then on April 16th, Shannon will be here to talk about Ratatouille, or as I've been calling it, the Rat Movie. We haven't talked about these. So we haven't talked about these movies, so it'll be fun and exciting to talk about these movies. I hope you guys can join us. Clear your calendars, Wednesday nights at 9 p.m., and we'll also have more content coming for you soon. Thank you guys again for all your support. We really appreciate it. But now is the time, Stephanie. This is the thing that we do. We've talked about this movie. Now is the time. Who remembers that one? Shout out, right? In my Disney traditions class, and we may have talked about this, traditions 1 and 2 and showmanship. In my showmanship class, the leads in that class ended it with singing "Now is the best time," because again, at that time, it was the song for Carousel. If that tells you where I was a cast member, that was the song for Carousel. That dark time when it wasn't a great big beautiful tomorrow, but now is the time. So, Stephanie, now is the time. Now is the best time. We've talked about this movie. We've talked about the music. We've talked about your love, passion for baseball, and all things 1994 when you were in elementary school or kindergarten or wherever you were when you saw this movie. But now is the question I need to know. Would you recommend this movie?
Yes. So I can tell you one thing. I'm not very trendy, but like to listen to TikToks and things that have the newest and latest trends. And the 90s is back, baby. So this has wonderful feel good 90s nostalgia. You can look through the crowd scenes and see all the 90s, the big bows, the, oversized shirts and things like this. So definitely it's great for that, but it's also, like we said, it has a rich multiple storylines that you're going to love. And it's not just about baseball. It's not just about sports. If you're, opposed to that or have any, like really any kind of interest in that. But this has a really good underlying theme for faith, family, and love. And I definitely recommend. Two thumbs up.
Oh, two thumbs up. I was gonna say very similar things. This is again my first time watching this. Shame on me, but this is the first time I had watched this movie. I was aware of it. I knew about it. I knew that it was a 1994 Disney movie about baseball. But in watching it, I have a brand new appreciation for this one. Again, this cast does not insist upon themselves. This cast was just there, and it was a great ensemble to help a movie that's about coming together and a movie about faith. And like I said, it has some rougher moments, and the acting is good, and it's not all just like sunshine and rainbows. But sometimes that's where the payoff comes out in a movie, is when you've had to go on this journey with these people, and you've had to go through the good times and the bad, and you get to the end and you celebrate that with them. That's this celebration and that feeling that so many Disney movies give me, that I would say I would absolutely recommend this movie today in 2025, right on the precipice of a brand new baseball season, when we all have, like, we're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and we think our teams are going to win. Go Nats. I know.
Reds.
I know. It's fine. You're fine. It's all fine. But anyway, thank you guys so much again for supporting us, for being here, for hanging out with us. If you have any questions, you can always hit me up at Rob S. Whiteside on X. I'm on Instagram. I'm kind of in all kinds of weird different places, but I would love to hear from you. Get your feedback. Leave your comments below.
Yes.
Join
Leave
us
comments.
on patreon.com/GoPack. We would love to have you guys there, but in the meantime, please take care of yourself. Be good to each other, please.
Yes.
And we will see you guys next time. Thanks a
On the
lot.
plus side.
On the plus side.